You might even qualify for financial help. Go to getcoveredillinois.gov. Your health coverage starts here.
Hour 3 of the show, and we are at Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis on Kings Highway, where they are accepting donations of supplies all day, all week, Saturday as well. And this is a great place where people can get urgent need for themselves. And we appreciate everybody who's come by today. A lot of people have been dropping off supplies, the hygiene, cleaning stuff, and supplies for infants, food, bottled water, that sort of thing. So we really do appreciate it, and we're going to be here until 12 o'clock. We are joined now by TJ Tutson, who is with Haircuts for the Homeless, and tell us about what you're doing. We're just talking a little bit off the air about what you do, but tell the listeners about your mission and what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay, so my mission is Haircuts for the Homeless. We're actually rebranding right now into Haircuts for the Hope. We feel that's the direction for everything that's going on in St. Louis right now. Been doing it about 7 years. We essentially barbers and professionals from all over the industry. We pack up our talents and our supplies, and we go to the sidewalks, the shelters, the bridges in the St. Louis metropolitan area, and we provide free haircuts and free service, free styles, free of charge. We also provide hygiene supplies, food, and also just water bottles, like essential needs. So I've been doing 7 years, and we find a way to love on the people with our gifts, and then we also take words of encouragement, words of affirmation to just help, re-dignify them from whatever place that they're in. So our motto is we like to meet people right where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you start this organization? What inspired it?
God.
Yeah.
Essentially, God. I'm a veteran, United States Navy. I've been homeless as a veteran, which is insane because I came home from the war and ran into life and ended up homeless for about 6 months with my wife and kids. So that's one of the motivations behind it. But I've also just been blessed to have a skill set in the barber industry that always attracted people. And I always said that if I ever had something that I considered a superpower, I would try to figure out a way to give it away for free. So that was just one of the things that I wanted to do and I felt led to do. I believe that God sees us no matter where we are. So there's nobody ever lost or forgotten. And that's the message that I like to give to people when I provide them services in the streets.
If I can ask, when you did find yourself without a home with your wife and kids, how do you hold out hope in that moment?
You restructure. The wife and I, we were real honest about our situation. We're talking about homeless, 2 cars repoed, fighting through mental issues from the military with PTSD and things of that nature. We just got real honest about our situation one day as we were looking at our furniture on a trailer under a tarp outside my friend's house who let us live with them for a while. And we just said, you know what? We didn't have a crazy upbringing where we had the education in terms of building credit and, getting a home and all these different things. And we had already done the car thing wrong a few times. So we just decided to go back to school. My wife went back to school. I went back to school. She worked 2 jobs. I worked a full-time job. And we just went hard at it. And we built what we could. And in 6 months' time, we built enough credit, 640 credit score, contacted a realtor, and we ended up buying a house versus just getting an apartment or, going into a hotel and things of that nature. So I don't know. I think the stress of the moment caused our paradigms to shift in a way so we could start to try to fend for ourselves because, we had 2 babies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we figured it out. I don't know how to this day, but I thank God we did.
Did you feel like you had help along the way?
Yes and no. I'm kind of like the most responsible person in my family per se, and my wife is on her side as well. So while we're trying to figure things out, we still have people that were dependent on us for things. And since we bought that first house, somebody's lived with us for the last 15 years from the family. So it's just been that way, But I definitely along the way have had a great deal of help from my church community and some close friends for sure.
And Haircuts for the Homeless. You've been doing that for 7 years now. It's going to be soon Haircuts for the Hope.
Yep.
How has that organization evolved since you started it back 7 years ago?
So I started it back with a guy who I met in barber school. I only met him one time. And he challenged me that day. He's like, listen, on Saturday when we get out of school, let's go down and let's cut hair and give haircuts. I'm going to give haircuts away. And I said, okay. That Saturday came, he never showed up.
Really?
Yes, but the fire that it sparked in me,
Wow.
because I like to be a person of my word, just like military really drilled that in me. So I was like, I'm going anyway. So I had my son and my daughter, my wife had to work, a table and a chair. And I set it up downtown outside of St. Patrick's Center. And my son swept up the hair, my daughter held the signs, and I cut like 20 people's hair that night. And this one veteran guy I cut, he was just really emotional. And when I saw him crying over a haircut, that's what really ignited a flame in me.
Yeah.
And so I was determined from that point forward to make a difference beyond my military service, because I always thought it was limited to just my military service. But now I get to serve the community in a different capacity. And so I was able to grow that from a table and a chair on the sidewalk to a table, a chair, and a tent to now we have a full-fledged barber facility that we're mobilizing for the St. Louis metropolitan area that has 3 stations, a full bathroom, a sitting area, the works.
What are some challenges when you're giving haircuts for the homeless? What are some challenges that maybe people don't realize when you're doing a service like that? Or maybe surprises?
I would say having a level of empathy,
Yeah.
having a heart posture that is selfless toward the individual that you're serving, because they too have a life. They too have a story. Everything that people suffer from is not by choice. So you have people that are homeless, people just like the tragedy with the tornado, that wasn't by choice. So if somebody has a mental illness, that's not by choice. Somebody has an addiction, that may not be by choice. There's a lot of reasons why people are in that predicament. And so one of the main things that I've learned is how to decrease myself and allow room to have conversations and allow room to have love for people that, other people overlook. Because even when we're cutting hair on the streets, sometimes people are yelling out the window driving past, encouraging, and sometimes they're yelling out the window driving past, saying, negative things. And it's just amazing to me how we're so busy with life that we really do forget about each other.
What would I didn't want to ask the question? Like, what could possibly be negative about what you're doing?
That's a great
Like,
question.
why would people be yelling? Who are these?
That doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense.
Well, sometimes people are yelling, saying, they don't need the help, or just random things.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people deal with life based off how miserable or great their life is.
Yeah.
So
There's
then
no
they
doubt about that.
Yeah, so they just kind of throw it on other people. But I'll tell you something very interesting. In the 7 years that I've been doing this, I've been called a lot of names, like charlatan, scammer. I remember when I first bought my trailer 6 years ago, and then I got partnered with an organization that wanted to help out. I had some issues with getting the trailer moved because it had been sitting so long. So then they pulled out of even supporting, because they were like, you don't have a trailer. They just didn't believe me. And it's just crazy because I never anticipated that with this mission. Like, people actually coming from our character and the mission as though, it wasn't legit. But I do understand it at the same time. You know what I mean? Just like right now with the tornado victims, a lot of them are complaining about people coming out of other areas that weren't affected, trying to take advantage of the resources. So it's just like, it's a part of the territory,
Yeah. That's really, really difficult when you're trying to restore and you're trying to build and you run into opposition.
You got to really know what you're called to. You got to really know why you're called to it. And that keeps me grounded for sure, because I know God's made a way for me in my own personal life, and I know He hasn't given up on the people that are going through difficult times as well. So
I mean, you're doing this, providing a service for free for
sir.
people who need the service, which means that you've got to make income too. What sort of assistance do you get in this project that you're able to do it?
So, yeah, I'm not going to get emotional, but my wife, she has literally pulled from her retirement to help fund this thing. We've saved money. We've worked odd jobs and stuff like that, just trying to grind so we can have money for the mission, because my family believes in it more than I do. But here recently, over the last 3 or 4 years, my church has come alongside me and just been a phenomenal asset for me, Living the Word Church. I've also had a guy where I stored my trailer. The guy that owns the place out there, Mr. Randy at Randy's Towing, he just stepped in. He and his wife stepped in when they heard about what I was doing, and they've been a blessing. The American Legion in Collinsville, because I deal with them because I'm a vet, they've been a blessing. I've had caterers. I've had barbershops and salons. I've just had a lot of support and a lot of people who have stepped up and just gotten behind the mission and made sure that we have what we need moving forward. So it's been a community effort for the community.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, and you said before this, you were in the Navy.
Yes.
And so you were deployed overseas?
I was, yes.
Or do you mind asking where you served?
Oh, no, I've served essentially around the world.
Yeah.
I served in Iraqi Enduring Freedom over in Bahrain for we did 2 tours over there.
Wow.
So I tell people like that are going through this situation. For me, going to other countries and seeing their norm is like disaster. If I'm honest, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, when I drive through and I walk through the tornado zones and stuff like that here, I just think strategy. You know, I don't know if that's just the way my brain works or what, but I think strategy. I'm like, okay, we need a strategy to combat this. But this is not the end of the world. It's devastating for sure, but it's not the end of the world, especially when I've seen the other countries, this is their norm. This is how they live, you know?
Yeah, I was wondering, and I do think probably what you've seen, it can either maybe overwhelm and break someone because you're overwhelmed by the amount of suffering in the world, like you said, knowing that this is the norm for some of the countries that you've seen, or it can motivate you to make a difference, and you've done that. You've been motivated to make a difference, which is so admirable because it's a lot to carry what you've seen.
It is. It can be. That's why we need each other. You know, that's why I was so fortunate to partner with the Urban League, Miss Lee, and just everybody. Yesterday it was a phenomenal day. So it's the more we go out, the more I go out, and I understand that the connections are. They're the mortar between the brick. They're what is going to essentially rebuild things in the community. I believe in it. I believe the community can evolve. It can change. I believe that our best days are ahead, not behind. So I just think that it's about heart posture and people having the right perspectives.
So you, I assume, want to continue to expand this mission.
Yeah.
What sort of help do you need from people? Because there are those listening who, you know, maybe they think I would like to help out. I'd like to do something. What can they do?
They can donate. Our biggest response right now to keep the trailer in the community would be donations toward the expense of the trailer. It costs money for us to mobilize this thing. So that's going to be our biggest need right now is people getting behind it by donating whatever they can. We have a number. We do have a number. We have an annual number that would allow us to keep us in the community for a 12-month period of time with supplies, with services, with maintenance that we're striving for. So that would be the number one.
So if they want to reach out to you, how do they do it?
They can go straight through the website, haircutsforthehomeless.com or haircutsforhopestl.com. They'll take you to the same location. On there, there's a donate tab, which will take us to our donation platform with Give Butter. And you can either be a monthly sponsor or you can be a one-time donor. At the bottom of the website, you will find the email address and my direct cell phone number, literally. So you can call me anytime.
Haircutsforhope.com?
Haircutsforhopestl.com.
Haircuts for Hope.
Or haircutsforthehomeless.com.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yes, sir.
Well, TJ, it's a great thing you're doing, and we appreciate you stopping by. And
yes, sir.
Urban League, you've had a relationship with them as well.
Yeah, so they've been around for over 100 years.
Yep.
So I've had a relationship with them. I actually cut somebody's hair, one of the young ladies that works here, her husband's hair and things of that nature. So I'm looking forward to what we do next for sure.
TJ, it was really great to meet you, and we admire you for what you're doing.
Yeah,
we appreciate you.
Thank you.
TJ Tutson, Haircuts for Hope, Haircuts for the Homeless. Go to haircutsforhopestl.com if you want to donate to his mission. It's the Chris and Amy Show. We are highlighting people and 100 acts of kindness